proprietor who was like, no, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And then clearly like, oh, I guess maybe we should do it. Was also
he was a bartender.
Deadwood. Yeah,
he was. Yeah. Both from the Deadwood, which is great show.
Oh yeah.
And so was Cad Bane. No, okay. Hey, Internet. It's Paul. It's Matt. The Dork Lords. We're here talking about the Book of Boba Fett, Season 1, Episode 6. From the desert comes a stranger. We open with the return of Cobb Vanth from the Mandalorian. He's having a shootout with the Pike Syndicate, trashes their spice shipment. More on him later. We end with Luke Skywalker offering little Grogu a choice. Either keep the Mithril, Beskar armor, and return to Mando, or take Yoda's old lightsaber, stay with Luke to train as a Jedi. And we'll talk about that choice in a second. But First, Paul, what did you think of Episode 6?
Despite my embarrassment for the limb that I walked out on, I did like it. Well, I thought they wanted to make a good show. No. I overestimated clearly the amount that they would spend time and money on making this thing happen. And I thought it would be cool. That's what I actually thought. I thought, if they had him go away and then come back and not say what happened, then you could show what happened later and everybody would be like, boy, what happened? But no. They're like, or we could have a bunch of cool stuff happen, and it doesn't matter how much it costs, except that we'll save money by making sure that Boba Fett doesn't say anything.
So last week, we had a disagreement over whether Grogu would show up in this episode with Luke. And, Paul,
he really did. He really showed up.
Nothing tastes as bitter as, the candy you eat is just the bitter taste of disappointment.
Yes, I'm not spared from bitterness by not wagering candy.
That's right.
I still taste it.
One reason I was fairly convinced that they would show Grogu here was because they did. They already showed
He
Mando.
Practically winked, though. He was like, I must see a little friend. And, you can't see his face in that mask. Right? Wink
and
harder.
If you're going to say that, if you're going to say the little friend at the end of the episode, and then you've got arguably currently the most popular character in Star Wars lore, you got to show him, I think. So, anyway, they did. That's what they did, and how he was about half the episode. We did that as I thought they might do. They did a day in the life of Grogu. It's a pretty important day because he seems to learn a lot in that one day. He's kind of
he retrained a lot.
Oh, good point. That's
true.
You're just remembering.
Yes.
So yes, much of this episode is spent with Luke training Grogu in much the same way that Yoda trained Luke. So we see a lot of callbacks to Dagobah and Empire Strikes Back. Even with a lot of Luke's lines, right? He's teaching using the same verbiage that Yoda taught him.
Yes.
I was a little confused at the teachable moment with the frog. It was like, Grogu gets distracted in his training by, frog, I'll eat the frog. And so he levitates the frog to his mouth and he's going to eat the frog. And then Luke's like, when you, basically, I guess the unspoken thing is when you learn to use the Force, you can have innumerable frogs to eat.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think that's it. It's like,
okay.
Basically like,
here's why
here's why you should pay attention. You can become Jabba the Hutt off of these frogs.
Stick with my training program. Obviously, the deep fake, they're getting better with that technology.
They are. Clearly, people are talking a lot about someone that they hired who was doing them independently, but they brought him into the company like, why don't you do that for us?
Come over here. And so, that's if it's that good now and will only get better, that's a trend.
I certainly hope so, yeah. Because the performance was still a little wooden.
It's not perfect,
you're right. It'll get better.
but it's certainly better than the end of Mandalorian season 2. I mean, it's all just in that short period of time.
And
there's a big jump already.
And better than Rogue One.
Yes. So yeah, making strides, and yeah, it looks great. And then you have Ahsoka is there as well. So they pretty much they threw all the favorites. They just packed them onto one planet. You got Grogu, you got Luke, you got Ahsoka, and Mando. Might as well just have them, play bridge or something. Like, oh, woo, we got them. And R2, throwing R2 in there.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
A lot of fan favorites. Speaking of candy bets, I will make a candy bet here just because I'm so convinced that I'm right.
So the good thing about this, maybe I've made you cocky enough to make a mistake. Right. And then everyone will get to see you eat bad candy.
So we have one episode left. And we can talk about what may or may not be in the final. And I'm not 100% sure of how the whole thing's going to go. But I feel very sure that Grogu's choice is going to be to go with Mando.
Is that what it is? Is that what you're betting on?
Yeah. Right? I mean, I know. I'm just saying, it's a choice. They left it cliffhanger, end of the episode. Which one will he choose?
I bet you that the Mandalorian will actually have lines in the next episode. I'm certain. I'm certain of it. I'm going to bet it.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but I'm just saying, the choice is so not a choice.
Yeah.
That I would eat 3 pieces of salt licorice if, in fact, Grogu goes, oh, I'm going with the lightsaber. You're like, what? For a lot of reasons. One, just because he's so connected to the Mandalorian and the show The Mandalorian.
Yes.
That for him to depart now. In fact, I think you can make the argument that maybe the Mandalorian title could also refer to his being Grogu's journey in some ways to become a Mandalorian, much like Mando is. In terms of neither one of them was born on Mandalore,
right?
But they're kind of following a code together and perhaps, anyway, becoming Mandalorian. I feel like that's kind of where that's going.
Things like Hawkeye, where now the Mandalorian will pass the torch on to the Mandalorian.
To the Mandalorian. And just the fact that if Grogu becomes Luke's first student, then you're going to have to jump a lot of obstacles to explain Grogu's future, right? Because we know what happens to that academy. The academy that's being built by the weird spider droids,
right,
is destined for failure.
Right, but
catastrophic failure.
We saw, though, how old Ben was when he did it, which was pretty darn old. Well, and we have an idea, it's only 5 years or so at the most past.
Yep, it's about 5 years right now, and so you're talking maybe another 10, 15 years?
Yeah. So, this show, I'll bet some money on this, is not going to last 10 seasons.
I think you're safe on that one.
So, that's quite a ways away. So, you have to explain, in 10 years, he was training for a little bit, and then he left.
You're saying, in other words, the program is only it's a 6-month program. You go, you study a couple. It's online.
No, even if it was 8 years, you still have plenty of time for him to train and then leave. Is all I'm saying.
It sounded like it was kind of like the academy had a few students. It wasn't that he mentioned it in the sequels. It wasn't like a great number of folks. It was like 24 or something. So it sounded like whoever was there was there. But right. Okay, I got you. So, you're right. You could explain it away that Grogu went for a couple of years and then left, and then the other stuff happened.
Yep,
that's true. I thought my thinking was either Grogu dies or Grogu turns evil and joins the Knights of Ren. Neither of which Disney's going to allow to happen. So
no.
So you'd have to find a way to explain it. Maybe you just did. But an easier explanation is he never joined the academy.
Yes, that is
because
easier.
He went off with his friend Mando. I feel like because we see that choice at the end in another cliffhanger moment, I feel like they're going to answer that choice by having Grogu show up back on Tatooine.
Sure.
Somewhere around this episode.
Yeah, I mean, not even
help out
until
his
the end
buddy.
or whatever that Ahsoka Tano will take him back, but
Right.
and be like, oh, okay, you just won this battle, and now here's your little buddy.
But it is kind of funny. Like, I guess we were wrong. We're taking back.
Yeah.
There's a big thing about we must take him away. And Never mind. Here, you got
It's like hot potato.
Yeah.
But
he stayed long enough to learn a few things.
Right,
So
and and the thing
quasi-Jedi.
that they didn't have to do, to me, is like, okay, you could only have one. Have this chainmail or have
you got both.
and so but no, you have to have one or the other, and so therefore the scene is not going to be Ahsoka Tano coming with a piece of chainmail like, sorry, buddy.
He's using it as a stand-in for make your choice.
Yeah,
I'm giving you the chance to bail on this whole project right now. Because he bailed, right? I mean, temporarily he bailed back in the day. He was on Dagobah and he's learning from Yoda, and his friends are in trouble, and Yoda's like, don't leave. And he's like, peace, and he left. And so he's kind of giving Grogu the same option. Part of what makes this scene, this sequence, particularly effective is that here we're seeing still like hopeful, gonna use the Force and gonna train people Luke. And you know that where he ends up in the sequels, and so in that academy it just becomes a disaster. And so it's interesting to see, like, is this like part of what happens to start him down the disillusionment path? Like, oh, I had this amazing student and he decided, you know what, it's not worth it. I like my family more. And so it's like, oh, I guess, maybe there is more to life than just studying the ways of the Jedi. I don't know. It's just interesting to see where he is
after
now.
this, it's like, you know what, you're leaving? Well, it's time to start phoning it in. Yeah, it's like,
well, it's like, where do I find other students? Well,
like,
that other guy, he does
like,
kids parties as a magician.
All these people coming in, you're like checking their ears, like, is it pointing?
Yeah.
Huh? Is he kind of green? Is he feeling sick? Is that what's going on with this one?
This is where he calls up his sister. Is like, I know you got a kid. He's probably got some of the Force. Maybe he could be a stand-in student for me.
Yeah.
But that is part of like the pathos of this in some ways, is seeing this temple being built that we're going to see later is on fire, and he's standing there watching the burning wreckage. Like, oh no!
I continue to question the logic of, Jedis, they're supposed to be cut off from people. Okay, fine.
Yeah, it's like it's the idea of like the ascetic monk, I guess. Back in the day, it was like monks are hermits, but even amongst monks, they at least had like a community. I guess that's what the academy would be. Yeah, but, really. Like,
you can only associate with those people. It's like, I mean, to me, it's this ridiculous Puritan idea that, you must forsake all physical pleasures and emotional pleasures in order to be a devout priest. And it's, I hope in the main series they're getting away from that. It's like we still haven't seen what the ramifications of Ben Solo's death will be on the story.
That's true.
And the kind of Jedi that Rey will be. They set up at the end of it that Luke, is saying that, the way is messed up or whatever. Okay, so what comes next? Who knows?
The Jedi Council, as we know, like in the prequels, it's on Coruscant. It's like the busiest planet in the galaxy, practically. They're hanging out we see them at bars. We see them walking around, like, communing with the people. Like, they come into the landing field, and there's guys doing the shit. Like, the big Jedi, the Jedi Council seems to have no problem chatting with folks and having friends. And, like, so why is it, like, where is this? I don't know. I guess you train in solitude and then you're fine.
Yeah, I guess that's what you're supposed to do, is go out in the world and not make any personal attachments. So, basically you're having a drink with somebody and like, somebody came and killed you. I mean, it wouldn't hurt me, I'd try to protect you, but,
I mean, it'd be a bummer. I'd send a card to your family, I guess. Yeah. It feels like they'd have to explain it more, to say, like, why is it that having a friend who would, give you a gift keep you from studying the ways of the Force?
Yep.
It doesn't sound like that would be mutually exclusive. You can have a friend who gives you a gift and you're like, oh, that's great. I'm training now, but awesome.
Yeah.
Two scenes were somewhat awkward to me in this episode. One of them is this. It's just the pacing of the spider droids building the temple scene. It was really deliberately slow. I guess I was so trying to look for metaphors. Is this technology being used to recreate old traditions? Is this somehow foreshadowing the fall of the? I came on to. They're just trying to show that Mando has to be patient. I don't know, like he has to wait. Yeah. Which he was more patient than I was, because I was like, come on! Much like in the last episode, what I thought was the overly long build the ship montage. Here, it felt like an overly long spider droids putting bricks together montage. I was like, okay, I got it. He's using machines to build the academy. Move on. But anyway, it lingered. It lingered, I thought, awkwardly too long for me. But anyway.
Yeah, not for me. Yeah, I think you're nitpicking.
Okay. So the other awkward scene is more awkward of the two, to me, which is the fact that, okay, so again, we have this episode that doesn't have Boba in it, except for one bit. And so Mando flies into the palace. We see the ship come in. Oh, great. Okay. And there's a big meeting of all the heroes, and they're gathered around the hologram. And Fennec is telling the strategy, and here's what we're going to do. We needed the material and all the things. And Boba is standing right there, and he doesn't say a word. So it would almost have been less weird to just not have him at all than to have him there and not say any. He was like an invisible second in his own palace with his own meeting. It was like, what? Even if he had just said something like Fennec gives the battle strategy, and then he says something for Tatooine, or whatever. Just does a thing where he a rousing thing for the hero, but he literally has 0 lines in 2 episodes
Crispin
in a row.
Speech? Nah, I don't need that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think I'll just stand.
Yeah, I wonder if there was a cut scene where he goes, "What she said."
Right. My throat. I've got a laryngitis. Having trouble. I don't know.
It's my Bacta tank is yes.
Yeah. That's right. So that was awkward to me. And if you're gonna put him back in, put him back in. That's all. Get him back in the show. I feel confident. I'll say it. I'll feel confident that he'll have lines in the next episode.
Ooh, you're gonna bet some candy on it? Oh.
I don't think I'm that confident. That would be amazing if he literally wasn't even in. If he wasn't in the final 3 episodes of the season, we're just like, what? No.
We hadn't talked about the return of the Gunslinger, or I shouldn't say return, but Cad Bane.
Right. So we had obviously Cobb Vanth. We met him in the Mandalorian, and he became friends with Mando. And he notably gave up. He had Boba's armor, and he gave it up in exchange for Mando helping him take out the Krayt Dragon. We saw the skull of the Krayt Dragon on top of the Jawas.
Yes, that was cool. Pretty cool.
How do you mount that? Whew. Anyway, good job, guys.
You don't mind seeing that, but have some droids make a hut, and you're like, oh, this is too much. What's going on?
I wanted to see 15 minutes of Jawas trying to climb up Sandcrawler. So Cobb is obviously opposed to the Pikes. We see that he doesn't like the fact that they're running drugs through his territory. And Mando decides to go see if Cobb can designate some of the Freetown townsfolk to be a garrison. Hey, we need bodies. We need an army. So, and he's talking to Cobb, and we get the idea that Cobb's a little reluctant, but he's going to agree. Okay, you got it. I'm on your side. Well, then walks in Cad Bane, a fan, much like we had a Black Chrysanthemum, another fan favorite bounty hunter, maybe even more so. Cad Bane is more popular, I think, even than the Gladiator. We get another very popular bounty hunter figure from the Clone Wars, who also has connections to Boba Fett, and anyway. But he comes in on behalf of the Pikes. The title of this episode, From the Desert Comes a Stranger, is this moment. It is Cobb versus Cad Bane. Cobb versus Cad. Of course, the little deputy comes in and kind of screws with stuff, and Cad Bane shoots them both.
Yes.
And then walks off somewhere. I'm like, why does everybody have to walk? Like, the only guy who doesn't is Mando, right? Mando lands his ship, like, right next to the sheriff's office. And, the deputy's like, hey, you can't land here. But, like, yeah, of course that's what you do. Why am I going to park, like, miles away and then walk through a desert? No. But Cad Bane did the park your ship out in the middle of nowhere and then walk out to it. So I liked, the depictions, the live-action depiction of Cad Bane. I thought it was pretty effective.
Sure.
He shoots Cobb notably once, and he shoots the deputy many times.
Yeah.
I
think it's possible that maybe he only got hit in the shoulder or something.
Yeah, I mean, also we see the townsfolk when they emerge, they all flock to Cobb.
Yeah.
No one checks on the deputy.
He's clearly dead. Let's go help him.
We can't help him. But this guy, so that also suggests maybe Cobb is still alive. Maybe, but yeah, the deputy was like, who cares? Okay. But it's also interesting, that moment when Cad Bane says something like, you should have kept your armor or something like that. First of all, it shows that Cad Bane knows that. So
right,
he did some research on this guy. Second, it kind of shows the cost. When we go back to The Mandalorian, when he just agrees to give up his armor and he sticks to his word, this is something that in this moment could have saved his life. And he, because he made an agreement, he gave it up, and now he's probably still alive, but they leave it on the cliffhanger, is he alive or not? But yeah. At some point, Boba probably would have come for it anyway, right? Is also the thing. Boba's like, that's mine.
I did watch the show that Cobb Vanth, the actor, Timothy
Deadwood?
Oliphant, Deadwood there. So apparently that proprietor who was like, no, we can't do it.
Yeah.
And then clearly like, I guess maybe we should do it. Was also
he was
on
a bartender.
Deadwood. Yeah,
he was. Yeah. Both from the Deadwood, which is great show.
Oh yeah.
And so was Cad Bane. No, okay. We've set up the situation then where Cad Bane has potentially mortally wounded Cobb Vanth or something. How do we see in the final episode, who is it that faces down Cad Bane? There's a lot of.
You're assuming that it's the Mandalorian that's doing it.
Well, actually, on second thought, just because the Mandalorian has that armor, and of course Cad Bane's like, you shouldn't have gotten rid of your armor, the implication, because then if I shot you, you wouldn't have died. So maybe more to the point is it's Cobb Vanth. Maybe he comes back. We got an injured Cobb Vanth trying to get, redeem himself in some way. I don't know that Cad Bane dies, though, because he's a pretty popular character.
Right.
Anyway, but it's interesting. Somebody's going to have a standoff with Cad Bane, I would think, and it's either Cobb, Mando, Boba, or Fennec. It's probably one of those four.
Sure.
I just don't know who that is. Maybe it's here's your long shot. Maybe it's the bartender. He's like standing up for the marshal. I saw you shoot my friend, the marshal. I'm just a lowly bartender, but I have years of shooting womp rats.
Yeah, it's hard to say which one of those four. Yeah, I think less likely to live than Cobb Vanth is Garsuf Whip. Well, I don't think I've ever said her name before, but Jennifer Beals' character being in that bar,
she's gone.
Where it's like, what the?
Now, interestingly, earlier in the season, I jokingly said that if they kill off Max Rebo, I'm done with this show.
He wasn't there that night.
Right, that's the thing I was about to say. But damn it, they may have killed off Max Rebo, but I think you're right. I went back, actually, and I watched every frame of the casino scene.
No, you better not.
I better not. Like, don't dare kill off Max Rebo. And he is not seen, at least. And the band playing, notably, does not have him in it. So I think Max Rebo had another gig, and
he might have been taking five
about it. Maybe he's working for the Pikes. He's like,
maybe so.
I better be clear that night. More to the point is, I think Max Rebo now he has a reason to get revenge. Right? He's like, you killed my bulbous-headed oboe player. You prepare to die. Anyway, so Max Rebo, I think, somehow still alive, even though everyone else in that casino got blown to bits by the pikes. Kind of reminded me of the opening of The Untouchables. Remember the movie?
Sure, yeah. Hey,
Mister,
you forgot your boom.
Which was here in Chicago. But anyway, that's the Chicago way.
Yes.
That's the Moss Espa way. So, yes, the pikes, obviously send Cad Bane to Freetown, where he, does mischief. Then they send a bomb into the casino. And so they're obviously, staking their claim. And we got to have the bad guys kind of, we're in trouble. So you
would think after that that maybe the other people won't be so neutral. I mean,
that's true. That's true because the casino wasn't. I mean, Boba liked to hang out there, but it wasn't like they were actively fighting the pikes or anything. So you just blew up an establishment. That probably most of the town was cool with, and so you'd think you'd put people on the other side of the fence to be like, boo, pikes. So what are some things we do feel like we're going to see in this last episode? Good sir. I'll start with, assuming Boba's in it, it'll be Boba on a Rancor. Got to have Boba on a Rancor at some point.
Okay, sure, why not, I guess.
Like destroying something. A bunch of pikes, I guess.
Okay. Will this episode conclude this altercation, or will it go into the next season?
I think it's going to.
Okay, so that should be one of the first questions you ask.
Okay.
It's like
you're right. It might not, but I feel like it will.
Right. I think it's probable that it will. I mean, if he's able to successfully fend them off, then you have plenty of opportunities for drama in the next season.
Because the pikes could be working for someone else, right? So it's like, we defeated the pikes, but the real enemy is boom, and that's your season 2 thing potentially.
Maybe, yeah. I don't feel like there's other things that I'm aware of. I mean, the only other thing are the huts, right? And
there's the huts. There's like Crimson Dawn. Cad Bane's got to have a standoff with somebody. I feel like we got to see all of our heroes do heroic things, right? So Black Chrysanthemum's going to do something heroic. And our Vespa gang is going to do something Vespa-ly heroic. Yeah. I feel like, Ahsoka probably comes back with Grogu. We probably see some lightsabers then. We probably see the dark saber being used.
Oh, right, yeah, sure.
We maybe if Ahsoka brings back Grogu, maybe she assists in the fight at that time. I don't think Luke comes back. I think Luke is
definitely don't think Luke will come back. And it'd be interesting if Ahsoka ends up fighting there, but I feel like it's more likely for her to come after it's all concluded.
Okay, all right, just like, hey, he showed up late, but not too late. I just thought that maybe you'd have Grogu assist Mando, using Force powers in some way, but. I like it was an interesting concept to be like, he moves, he can use the Force to jump, like to hop. It's like they were really focused on like showing that he can do that because I think they need him to move faster in future episodes.
Yeah, I think so.
The fact that they had Luke just like using the Force to move him,
was
kind of funny. Like, keep up. Here, I'll force push you along the woods. But so I guess that's what we're gonna see from now on is like a hopping version.
Yes.
It might be awkward. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see.
It'll be,
would it be more awkward for him to
do you think he's going to... What weapon will he have, Is he going to let him have Yoda's...
I don't think he will.
Lightsaber to leave? Right? It's like, you can have both of them, or you can leave and have both. No, you can have one of them, or one or the other. Yeah.
It's like what we see in the back scene is Grogu points to the chainmail. And, Luke's kind of like got a sad face, but he's like, okay, I get it. You've chosen the way of your family. Well, Ahsoka will take you back to Tatooine. And then as he's leaving, you just see in the background Grogu go, whoop, and like force pulls the thing over and like, I got them both.
Yeah. Or it could be like, looking at both of them, then like putting hands on both, and then yank, just bounce out. Like, thanks for the lesson on how to bounce.
I think he'll be back in time to make a contribution.
Okay.
I don't think he'll just be
what do
back
I know?
to go,
I know nothing.
I'm here.
I know nothing. I'm wrong before. I'll probably
I've
wrong
been wrong
again.
before as well, sir. I'm in the I've been wrong before camp, so I can't maybe I'd be a glass house. And I'm throwing lightsabers at it. But I could see how it might be an end credit thing where he just like shows up and like, oh, we're back. But I almost feel like maybe he can lend some aid. I feel like we will have Boba win. Do we have somebody in mind of our group that will die?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I kind of wondering if Fennec is going to make it through.
I feel like Fennec will make it through.
Okay. It's like funny, if Fennec was closer to, the Mandalorian, and she's not, she's more of importance to Boba Fett, and not having that might make the next season more interesting, not having, that person to advise.
I think probably the way that they do it is they take kind of the easy way out and they kill one of the Vespa gang. I think one of the Vespa gang buys it, and they're like, "Oh no!
Wow!
Reticle eye guy! Oh, you didn't even have a name!"
Wow! That seems kind of cowardly, but it's possible.
Here's a question: we asked this in previous recaps? Will they somehow tie this back to the Tuskens, or is that just not a? I mean, they don't have a lot of time to do it, but maybe after the battle. Maybe we see Boba somehow go to one of the tribes or something.
I
feel like he should.
Because part of me is thinking that how much of this episode is a battle, and is that good television?
It'll be a lot of it will be a battle. I think it'll be like things happening at various places.
Right.
Oh no, we got a thing.
Right. And so that means something has to happen in order to make the Pikes. I mean. You can kill all the Pikes on the planet, right? But that's probably not all the Pikes. Right. So what makes the Pikes decide to forget the planet, basically?
This isn't worth it.
Yeah. Do we know? But, can you think of anything that would cause them to... can you think of anything that would cause that to happen? I feel like something else has to happen in order to make that happen.
You could write it in to say like, oh, we've suffered too many losses. It's not economically feasible for us, so we're going to move elsewhere. But that's kind of a cheat,
Yeah.
Okay. So you think there might be some other shoe to drop that somehow makes it like the Pikes are like, all right, we gotta go.
Yeah, right. Because I would assume that they're not going to send everyone, and so to have a victory over that's what.
Temporary
is
victory.
A part. Yeah, the part might be that he defeats the ones there, and then he gets enough buy-in from the planet that.
Sure, they can get ready for the next group to come.
Yeah.
Like, we've got more of us now.
Right. So I don't know. Yeah. So I think it's more likely, though. Unfortunately, I don't know the Star Wars lore well enough to suggest what might happen, but I kind of feel like the curves that we got in The Mandalorian were because, let's bring in this other part, and that causes the story to change. So I feel like there's something else coming because, as much as, it's going to be one big long battle, I'm not sure what is going to make the Pikes stop.
I would just like some tie-off of the Tusken origin story for Boba.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Hey, I got this family, I had the sense of identity, community. They were all killed off. I'm now getting revenge, I get in some way, for the people that killed them off. And what is that little final send-off? I'd like something there to make it all kind of make sense. Or
Sure.
Instead of just, as we said, fridge the Tuskens.
Right.
So
that'd be good.
I'm hoping that they do that. So we'll be back talking about the season finale of Book of Boba Fett, and we'll be back talking about Peacemaker. Thanks as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir.
Sure, no problem.
And we'll see everybody next time. Bye.